And we are live. Welcome, everybody. This is Connections Unplugged from LinkedIn to Life. In this video podcast series, multi-streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, I have the chance every week to introduce you, the viewers, to one of my LinkedIn connections. I have approximately 6,000 great professionals connected with me in my network. And I've been thinking that how cool it would be to, first of all, ask them for a little interview to get to know them on a personal and a professional level, but also share this conversation with you out there. So this is how this Connections Unplugged show has started, and it has received a lot of praise. I'm happy that you really like it. I've gotten great feedback, and of course, I'm very thankful to all the guests that have graced me with their presence here on my little unscripted show. And the fun fact and interesting part of the show is that my guests don't know what I'm about to ask them. So they're all great open books, all great sports. So they are willing to share all their insights and tell about their lives, their past, their present, their future with me and with you out there tuning in and listening. This show is powered by OneStream Live, a great company from Finland, a tech company. I'm proud brand ambassador. We're using OneStream Live. This is the great branded content that comes from OneStream Live Studio. Check out more at onestream.live. Today, in today's episode, I have the great pleasure to welcome Mrs. Jaana Komscha-Härkönen is here in the studio with me, and here she is. Hi, Jaana.
Hello. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on who's watching it.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. I had the pleasure to interview you once more before for OneStream Live's official channels that have hundreds and tens of thousands of followers. We did together the future female leaders of today, right?
Yes, we did.
So you were one of my guests there representing one female leader. And let me share for the people who have missed that OneStream Live show, that special edition. Allow me to share a couple of words about Jaana. What she says in her LinkedIn profile is the CEO at Breaks. I'll show you shortly, breaks.fi. What is the company about? Happiness as a service. She has coined this term, and she states there on her LinkedIn about page, this is a passionate entrepreneur with a deep belief in the power of people. She has founded Breaks, her company, back in 2017, inspired by her love for singing and the idea that work should be more than just about performance. It should be about people, joy, and creating meaningful experiences. So, Jaana, you said there in the first few lines of your LinkedIn profile that you have all it has started by your love of singing. Tell us a little bit, how does music and singing continue to shape your way, the way you live now, the way you lead your company, the way you create meaningful experiences for your clients? Does it play a role?
It does. It still does. What started, I think that almost 15 years ago when I took my first singing lesson, it was, of course, first this very Finnish approach that you want to learn the techniques and how to sing, and quite. Then I realized that it's not really about the techniques. It's about singing and sort of expressing yourself in a great way. Of course, singing is one of the best ways, and then breathing techniques and all that. And it led me to think that after those singing lessons, I was like a newborn lady at the airport. I used to work at Helsinki Airport back then. And I was filled with ideas, creativity just boosted. And I started to see that there is some pattern or equation that how those, in a way, funny to say that the singing lessons woke up the creativity in me. And when we are so stressed and somehow the work life seems to be, people running from one meeting to another, that was my really break out of everything. And I started to study it a bit more. Of course, music has a lot of positive influences also to our brain and all that. So it's not about singing in particular. But then I thought that, how could we enable moments like this to our work life? Because I had the advantage of being the early adopters and me being a guinea pig in that sense. And I thought that, okay, there are lots of kind of sports activities in Finnish working life, but how about some creative ways to help people to be more creative? And that was the original idea when we started the company. Of course, lots of sort of creative approaches to working life, but they still are part of what we do. And I still sing, and now I sing with a band. We've been playing together for 3 years, and all the.
When is your next gig? When can people see you perform?
Well, we just got our name after 3 years, so
what is the name?
It's Towns Below.
Towns Below.
Yes.
All right.
And I can tell you that the players in the band, there's other singers as well, they all come from working life, from various industries. One is a lawyer, one works in the IT field, one is a teacher. So we really come from like when we are as a band, we in a way leave the titles completely out of the room. Quite often, many of us tell that this is now the best moment of the week when you can just, be art in a way, release the artist in you and forget about the world. In a way, I feel that there's sometimes even the guitarists, when they have had a really heavy day, they're like closing the door, taking their guitars and starting to play, and it sort of all goes away. And it's
quite therapeutic. I think music has this very healing effect, and as you said, you forget that you're the CEO, you forget your troubles, your failures, your projects, your deadlines, your roadmaps, whatever industry you're in. And it transcends you to another dimension, which is when your guitar or your music or your band.
Absolutely.
Creativity, you mentioned several times, and it's at the core of you as a person, but also at the core of what you do as a professional. There's a common misunderstanding that organizing activities, team day or this and that for a group of people, professionals, such an easy thing to do. Anybody can do it, right? Tell us a little bit about your approach. How do you tackle this issue, and what unique perspective you bring? Tell us a little bit. I can show also the website of your great company, breaks.fi. Here's both in English and in Finnish. I have it here in the English version. But tell us, please, a little bit about the way you approach creativity and how easy it is to organize such events.
Well, I would say that the people who say that organizing events is just, you can do it with your other hand. I tend to ask that how many times you've organized anything. And usually the answer is that I haven't really, but, and then I'm like, okay, so then you don't know. It's like, of course you can do everything by yourself. I could do bookkeeping. I could, do contracts, but it would take a lot of time. So what we discovered throughout the years, because this, like I mentioned, this was not the original idea, although there are lots of like singing and voice coaching is a big part of what we offer, and a little bit also different approach in that sense that you don't find many places who can provide things what we have in our catalog. But we realized that because it is hard to organize these things, that there needs to be this one place, like if you watch the Lord of the Rings, like one ring to rule them all, like one place where you have gathered the activities, the training sessions, even the venues, and now some other supportive stuff as well there. So that when the person who's been handed over to, say, we'll have a team day, there's a lot of stress coming, like where do I find the activity, where do we go? So then the place comes, what do we eat, how do we travel there? And once we sort of realize that there is a gap in the market for this type of provider who have in a way gathered them all under one very easy way to find and try and test and also later on to book it. Now the booking comes to us, but it is on our way to actually be connecting straight the providers to the clients. And it was funny to realize that service as such was lacking in the Finnish market and apparently in the UK as well. Of course, we are overlapping with some providers who have sports, who have trainers, who have activities. But when we realize that this all, if it's under one umbrella and we qualify that the quantity is good, that the private providers there are trusted and tested by us, that it's valuable for the B2B client. Mm-hmm. This is actually what's happening now that I remember one new client of ours told last week that, how have I not heard about you? You know, this is like a dreamland for the ones who've been given the task that, hey, there's a team day coming, or even our management team is wanting to do something special together. And from this one place, you can find it all. Or then you can just, if you don't want to sort of browse through any of the ideas, you can just leave us the note that, hey, what do you have to offer? And then we come back to you with this suggestion. And later on, it's of course going to be AI assisted as well. But at the moment, there are over almost 600 activities or training sessions included, and the number is just rising as we're getting more and more companies or providers contacting us, because for them it is hard to reach out organizations, and there's a lots of offering in the area. And then of course I'm very happy always when they are these a bit smaller providers who have massively like unique approaches, and they might not, it's not easy to call to a large organization and say that, hey, I would have this thing, and go through all the things. So when we have the connections ready, it's a lot easier for us to recommend that, hey, there's this really cool thing that like now we're just getting for instance sauna yoga for our catalog, which is quite unique thing, that there are lots of yoga type of activities, but to have this sauna yoga, I'm very happy.
I'm, I graduated from Sibelius Academy myself with a master's in event management and culture production. And I agree with you that you have to be a certain type of person. I would also say that it's great to have also some background in event production, to be also able to deliver, to see events as the projects that they are, respecting the timeline, sources. And then on top of that, to add, as a certain type of person, you have to add your own unique touch, your own creativity, to do a little bit different. Because I think the problem in Finland and in other countries, what I've noticed is that everything is the same. More or less, it's repetitive, whether you get into this event or to another or to this team gathering. Yes, there is some activities and some food, and more or less it's the same. Or is it done the same the previous year? So for a series of years, because perhaps the people who have been giving this task, maybe they don't have the interest, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the creativity to really deliver this meaningful experience, this creative experience that go a little bit above and beyond the sort of ordinary. And I think you're this kind of person that I imagine that you have always been a little bit extraordinary and different. Am I right?
Yes.
Have you been a weird child growing up, a peculiar? What was the thing that differentiated you? Because I think you wouldn't go into this business. You would do something else. I think you're kind of person. What person are you?
Well, that's a good way to put it, because I honestly, I feel many times I feel very unfinished. I've been actually told by visitors here in Finland that you know, Jaana, I have to say that you're very unfinished. And then I'm trying to ask that, what do you mean by that? And that comes a little bit the fact that, of course, I'm quite outgoing, which is probably everyone who knows me, they can say it. But then I'm also the Finnish attitude here tends to be that it's very problem based thinking, and I'm the one, like, I was actually giving a nickname
Solution
by
focused.
yeah, that, you know, that the reality is this, and go with that. And I'm like, well, okay, reality is this, but what could happen? You know, dream a little, use your imagination. And therefore I was actually given a nickname by one very early team members who's not with us today anymore. But anyway, he was saying that you're like an Alice in a Wonderland. You go somewhere and then stuff just happens. And he was like, he's never been seeing an approach like that. And then he at the end of the day said that, but it seems to be working, so continue. So it's
Alice in Wonder, it suits you, and you look like even.
Yeah, that could be my new brand, is like, but I guess that, you know, it's really true that I just take the jump to unknown quite often, which is very unfinished, because usually Finns want to be, you know, secure everything and know what's happening. I somehow trust to the unknown sometimes, that, you know, you just go to places, meet up the people, talk to people, be open, be yourself. I guess that's one of the biggest benefits I've had, that not trying to be someone else. It's just me. If it's not suitable for everyone, that's okay. But at least I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not. And then I think that the little curiosity towards life, and, you know, if somebody tells me that this is not possible, I tend to think that, well, how could it be possible? What could I do to make it possible? And you know, all this singing and me starting also dancing lessons in adult age, people would have told, or many times told, that, well, I'm not a singer. And I'm asking that, why you're not? Because my teacher at school told me. And I'm like, well, that's only one teacher. You know, you can learn to sing. It's definitely about technique. I've been telling this to so many people, that if you want to learn to sing, you can learn to sing. Of course, for some it might take longer, but it is definitely a skill that you can learn. Same goes with the dancing. If you want to start to learn to dance, of course, again, the later you start, the more time it takes, but you can do it. And I don't know what is it in Finland in particular sometimes, that there are so many people telling you what you can't do, and then so few who can tell you what you can do. And I'm trying to find the ones who tell me what I can do. Of course, it's good to have some boundaries, but I think that our society is giving us enough boundaries already. So why not to, you know, test it and reach out the stars? Actually, a friend of mine just called me a week ago, and she was going back to our younghood. We've known each other since we were 9, so she really knows me. And she said that, you know, now that I'm reflecting to our childhood, you were always the person who, like, just to give you an example, when we were graduating from, before high school, you have this
junior high.
And I had this idea that, hey, after junior high, what if we go to abroad? And, you know, we were 14 back then. And so we sold this idea to our parents. And there we were, 2 junior high school graduates going to Spain for 2 weeks, just the 2 of us.
Oh,
and
is it even legal?
Yeah, I don't even know, but it was a few years ago. But and she was laughing that, yeah, when you had some idea, because everyone thought in the school that
Impossible.
you can't do it, and yeah, we did. And then when we were choosing the actual high school where we wanted to go, we were reading the books, and we thought, we don't want to go to the basic one. We want to have some extra flavor. Hey, let's choose the one with the English focus. We thought that it was just a little bit emphasis to the English. Well, it turned out that the whole high school was completely English. But anyways, what a minor mistake. But, somehow trying to seek for the not always the paths that everyone goes to, but choosing that, like taking the jump into unknown, and what's the worst that can happen. It's like, okay, you can you can fail. Of course, you can fail. But then if you fail, you learn, then you just, get back and try again or do something else. And I think that somehow the positive mindset is very much needed in this kind of life that I'm living, because the pessimism and a very realistic approach is so much present in our society nowadays. But I feel that, everyone needs a little bit of to the, like to be around those people who lighten up the day, so to speak.
Tell us a little bit. You spoke about failure. You talked about taking a giant leap, believing in something that seems impossible. When people tell you, no, this cannot happen, then you want to prove them wrong. Like, hey, see me doing it. So tell us a little bit about the business you're running, Breaks, episode 5, for everybody tuning in and listening. You can find out more about what Breaks is, that Jaana is the CEO and founder of. What are the, tell us a little bit about perhaps the story of this startup that started as a small company with challenges, and how those were overcome, and where you are at the moment. Have you faced some failures? Have you faced maybe recently some successes you would like to share? Tell us a little bit about the timeline of Breaks and sort of the ups and downs, and where did you really take no and turn it into a yes, or how have you overcome maybe an upcoming failure or prevented a failure and turning it into a success or difficulty?
I think that's the biggest skill needed running a startup is to when you face the failure and you get up and get back and get going. And I think that and do stuff. If you just freeze and stop doing things, then you end up. I think that's the way. That's the mindset when you know that then it's better probably to quit. But somehow quitting is not in my DNA. So when we started, of course, having the big idea that this is going to be it, the first idea of having these creative approaches to working life, well, obviously it didn't work. But what was the secret sauce was that we were always asking from the clients, what did they think? And trying to find the market fit and just being quite persistent about it. And knowing that in the future, I just had the gut feeling that the very human-based skills are going to be needed in the work life. Of course, my background was also in the HR, so human resources earlier. So I knew that there will be time, or I had this feeling that there will be time when people's skills are the most important skills in working life. It was not like this 8 years ago. There was a little bit talk about it. Of course, the early adopters again talked about them, but at most didn't. So even now here in Finland, it's very, I'd say that we're getting there, but now it's really coming to the stage when the AI is taking over, that what is left are people skills. Where have they disappeared?
And I think people, and if I may, sorry to interrupt you, and if I add to this, is this kind of embodiment, because we often forget that we are humans with bodies, with hands and legs and backs. The only thing that we have a brain, and we're sitting there with a laptop and pouring our thoughts into an email or a meeting without really knowing what's happening on our bodies. So exactly as you're saying, the human centricity, and do you believe also that the physical body together with the mind, the soul, is this where you want to add a little bit this human-centric, people-centric approach, very embodied?
Absolutely. I think that everything in a way that, although we talk that throughout the years, there's been developing this marketplace where we in a way match the doers or the providers to the company needs, or the company buyers needing the services. At the end of the day, I feel that it's very purpose-driven, that we want to actually create happier employees, better work days, and people who are connecting to each other. Like Nokia was connecting people. I think that perhaps we are reconnecting people, because I think that we've lost the connection completely. And there's a huge price now that many organizations are paying, and leaders are struggling. They're thinking that how do we keep these employees? How do we create the sense of togetherness when it's due to remote work and the technology, which has been a good enabler. But I guess that now it's time, like I was actually asking from one leader, when lots of companies invest to technology and technological solutions, that what if you would start to invest to your people? Like, stop, well, not really saying stop investing into technology, but somehow we've forgotten this throughout the years, because technology, it can connect people, right? Like we are now connected, but it cannot create the culture of togetherness in such. You need to have people who actually meet each other, see each other, even touch each other.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And if that is now, if no one is not realizing it, that's where we come along. Like we help them. Like just imagine that people cooking together or singing together. Our sales team was having a singing coaching session together, and we had so much fun. Like they said that this was one of the best. Like we were very open, we were very authentic, because you cannot really sing if you keep your mouth shut. And it was a moment that we all remember, and we shared something. We were vulnerable. Of course, it's a huge thing to use your voice in front of everyone. So you need to have a culture where the psychological safety is very strong. So I wouldn't recommend that to everyone, because unfortunately there are teams that it's still far out to even think about doing something in a way silly together when it's so. I don't know where the seriousness in business life has come from, because I keep hearing stuff that we don't even laugh anymore, or there's the joy has left the building. But I guess that comes from the fact that the world has changed, and many companies have forgotten that the very human skills and the togetherness is needed, and how to do it. It's not always that we sit in a 1 hour session to do stuff. It can be just spending time together, doing some funny activities together, and they are probably more meaningful than ever before.
If you, Jaana, would like to clarify a little bit for our viewers, how do you understand the word happiness? Especially, with the World Happiness Report, and for the past few years, was it 8th year now in a row, it's claimed that Finland is the happiest. Do you really see that Finnish workplace is the happiest? You just said that joy has left the building, and people are not really falling for that. And when I also speak to people both based in Finland, they're like, nobody believes this. People think, what is your understanding of this? Of course, every survey and everybody has their own data and methodology. Some are objective, like what is the GDP and what's the life expectancy. But some are very open and personal opinion of the people who are being interviewed. For instance, in this particular poll, there's about 1,000 people, so 1,000 people based in Finland answer to a questionnaire over the phone or in person interview. So this is how the results are formed. So what do you think is happiness? And if the Finnish workplace you think is already happy, because I understand you are in a mission to get happy or more happy. Yeah. So tell us a little bit, how do you see this happiness and Finland relation? Because I'm getting a lot of mixed messages. People don't fall for this.
I first of all, I think that Finns don't understand the value of how good things are here compared to many other countries. And that goes to back that I'd say that our happiness is more like that they're very comfortable, that the life is comfortable for us. We have lots of things that we take for granted, which are not free in many other countries. And well, going back to our education, free education, which is a huge thing, our pure nature, clean water, very basic things, and which we don't probably would not remember if unless we meet people from other countries who think that we are like in a wonderland when or our long vacations, for instance. I'm now going after a few weeks to the UK, and I realized that they don't have these long vacations at work at all.
Let's also remind the long dark winters.
Yeah. It's a.
So it has to have some balance.
Yeah, and I think that the work-life balance in general in Finland is quite good, and workplaces are supporting employees in many ways more than in other countries, and but there's still stuff to be done. I think that the human-centric leadership here in Finland, we are a very engineer-based country, and so it's a new thing for us to start to actually lead the people so that they would get the best results. And that can be challenging for Finland. But then again, saying that, I think that here, very open society, very reliable and trustworthy, which is not the case in many other countries. So if a Finn tells you that he or she will do it, it's quite sure that they will deliver at least at some point. And I think that the happiness is part of our, although it's like inner happiness. So it's not like we're smiling and waving and laughing all the time, but I think that we look comfortable, and we can trust our society that it works. But one thing that I am a bit worried, and this goes to all Nordic countries as well, that the sense of togetherness when we talk about the families, and we are now somehow very, because my grandparents were very that the society or the neighbors or the families were big and everywhere were supporting each other, and now I tend to see that it's getting very individualistic way of thinking, and people are so much thinking about themselves,
selfishness.
And I'm that is what worries me. I because I've always been the person who, I'd be the one the last leaving the ship, so to say, if it would be sinking. I'd be helping others, and it's in my nature so strongly. But I'm now a bit worried that even the families don't spend time together. Not to mention the grandparents, and because grandparents and the whole family can be a huge support group to your life, and for the kids as well, that you can spend time, and you're used to the fact that like in our household, I think that my sister is there so often that I sometimes think that you live here, and my mom is helping us out a lot with the daily matters, which then helps me as an entrepreneur. When she comes to our home, she usually takes starts to clean, because cleaning is the first thing that I've in a way given up, that I don't have always the energy to do as much as I wish I could.
That's brilliant. Great that you're saying it as well. What do you think about the future? You said that you're concerned a little bit about the togetherness, both in a professional setting and in a personal family setting. What do you think? Where do you see the future as we are entering now this times, as we spoke about technology, more disembodied, and the stress, perhaps unemployment is also rising. Many people are losing their jobs, not alone wanting to find a happy place. They just want to find a working place and earn a living. So maybe they don't care about, who cares about happiness? I just want, pay my bills and survive here. So where do you see in this current environment, financial, societal, global, and so on, where are we heading? Can we achieve happiness and togetherness as a professional, in a professional setting, or as families? And what would you say, what would be your advice to achieve those, both in our personal and professional lives?
Well, I think that it's about us all, that one person cannot do it alone, but one can start. That, start doing actions yourself, like I started, that doing things to bring that togetherness back. As a leaders, you can do things in your company, and as a mother, you can do things at your home. And if everyone is when joining this movement, bringing the togetherness back, then then we can achieve it. And of course, media and our politicians have a huge role. The role models, they would need to start to talk about things like this instead of dragging us to different sides. I think that it would be super important to start talking about that. Hey, what can we together achieve? Like every time if we win in an ice hockey world championships, which just finished. So I think that the winning is combining the whole country quite nicely. So why not trying to think that, hey, after the war, our grandparents built a great society for us, and it's our responsibility actually to look after it. And this desperate mindset that it needs to end now. That if you start in a way manifesting the better times and doing things with a smile on your face and positive attitude and taking care of others, helping the ones who have lost the energy. It can be even your neighbor, like saying hello and not being so individualistic. That would be a way to go, because the other way is going to be rude. I think that's going to be the cruel world. You just have to look at what's happening in the many other countries. That do we want that? I'm just trying to think that for my kids, it's almost my responsibility to make sure that they will have at least the same in a way possibilities than I did, or even better. And especially now the hate towards girls and female, it's breaking my heart. And I'm really like encouraging, especially men who are listening to this, that start talking to your kids and make sure that they are not the ones spreading those talks. And because it's also raising with boundaries, that's super important. And showing example, be present, be at home, show the empathy and kindness, because that's what the world needs more than ever. So of course one person can start, but we all have this mindset that let's start doing. If I'm I can help and show the way to my colleague, to my neighbor, to my relatives. And then I think that people would start to react.
I agree with you. At one point, I disagree. I want to add another dimension. As a mother of a boy, I want to say that there's also the other side of the coin, that often little boys are labeled as too wild, too loud, too this, too that. So that also doesn't allow the little boys in the society to grow up to be true selves that they are. So everybody, boys and girls, and I think everybody has a place respectfully, so in the society. So I'm a person who doesn't like labels as such. And I agree with you that it's important to do small acts of kindness, of togetherness, of help. And in Finland, you have this very nice concept of talkot,
That's true. We need
can you explain us a little bit? This is, I think, a very nice concept of togetherness that really brings people. Tell us a little, because it's a word that doesn't really translate very well in English, or not sure that's a word.
Yeah, I think that talko is actually mean that you are doing something for the sake of everyone's, and if you're living in an apartment, you might have with your neighbors that you, for instance, you're cleaning the streets, or you're doing some, I don't know.
You're cleaning the yard, or you're taking care of the flowers.
Exactly. And together. So it's not only my yard, it's like the whole surrounding.
Space.
And that's a nice thing. And in schools, quite often they might have also that the parents are organizing something for all the students, not just for your child or for your class. And that spirit has been very strong here in Finland. And it's a very well known concept. So in a way, perhaps we should have the whole Finland having this talko spirit.
Think about it. Maybe you're a good person to kickstart to protect this concept of talko, preserve it here in Finland. Jaana, one question regarding your summer. Summer is coming. What plans do you have? Are you working? Is the company active? Are you all still, or do you go on a long holiday with your family? What is your summer looking like?
Well, to be honest, as an entrepreneur, I think that the holiday is concept that doesn't exist in such, because you end up in a way working all the time or having the ideas. Usually my creativity boosts if I'm having in a way day off, but of course I'm spending time with the family. And when we have this midsummer Juhannus coming, it's our summer cottage surrounded by beautiful Lake Saimaa, and that's always the place that I'm like, in a way middle of the forest, surrounded by lake, a beautiful midnight sun, usually sitting in the balcony and just staring the beautiful view, and somehow getting more energy and spending time in the nature together with the family. That's what I always I'm sort of awaiting the most, and having the quiet environment. I love living in Helsinki, our capital area, but I also love the quietness sometimes, and there you really hear the birds singing and the sound of the water, and you're just it makes you very calm, and that's what we're gonna spend a lot of time during the summer. Of course, now due to the remote possibilities, it can be even longer when you can work from there. So that's probably most part of my summer is gonna be hopping to our summer place and then going back to the city.
Great. And remind me, are you from Eastern Finland originally?
My parents are. My parents
that's
are.
why.
Yes.
That's why you're. When you said that your mother is coming and cleaning and helping, and you have this Eastern blood in you. And for those who don't know, I have to say that the Eastern Finnish people are my favorite people. They're different kind of people. They are indeed very creative. Everybody I met, they're super intelligent, super creative, super talkative. And if I hear someone replying to me, if I ask a question on a bus or somewhere, they're the only ones who reply to me. So that explains a lot about, and check out the Lake Saimaa that Jaana mentioned, beautiful place. So if you want to come to visit Finland in the summer and see the beautiful midnight sun, a unique also phenomenon. We don't have it in other parts of the world. So enjoy the time. Jaana, I would like to thank you for today's interview.
Thank you so much for letting me be.
And here again, breaks.fi. Here is the company of Jaana. You can find, if you're based in Finland, in Finnish with much more content, and also in English briefly. You can see what great services they are offering. So I would like to thank everybody for tuning in and listening. And thank you to Jaana, who was here with me today. Here you are. Thank you, Jaana, and have a nice summer. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. And actually, this was the last episode of this season. I'm going also on my holidays, and I will see you again in August. I will stream again some of the past episodes. There will be some regular content. If you missed the past episodes, you have a chance to watch them again on our same time, Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So I would love to wish you a happy summer. Make sure you travel, or you're with your loved ones. You spend meaningful quality time. That's my love language, quality time. And enjoy nature, enjoy good food. So thank you for this season. Thank you for tuning in and listening to Connections Unplugged. You loved really this concept, and I'm very honored and humbled. And I will see you in August, because schools start back in August in Finland. So my best summer month is taken away from us, but nonetheless, June, July, I will be somewhere on a beach in Greece. Bye. Bye.